at least 50 to 60% of the men think that it is okay and correct to beat their wives.
That's crazy. Is it not absurd?
What was the most difficult door you've ever had to knock on?
He was harming not just the children, but as well his wife. They'll be like, I never do anything, what did I do? I'm just sitting here in the room.
Is it like every day there's a report of this?
We do get reports on the daily.
What are the main actually motivators behind abusers?
The most common would be
Okay, so when we think of domestic violence, we often think about protection or perpetrators going to jail. But we were recently talking about this and we found out that it's actually a possible goal of reunification, which is kind of confusing to me also. So today we have with us a protection officer to better understand the system and the efforts to fight back up with this subject matter, right? So please welcome Rati.
Yay!
Yeah, welcome.
Hello.
Welcome.
Thank you for having me.
Is it a fun job or is it a very heavy job?
Well, it is heavy, but I guess we find some fulfillment in this. And yeah.
Can you actually take us back, right, to maybe the very first case that you handled?
The parent, the father, was harming the mother as well as the children, right? And he also had like prior antecedents where he had harmed children from his previous marriage as well. So there were instances where he was harming not just the children, but as well his wife, right?
Wow.
So there was spousal violence, there was also child abuse going on.
Wow.
Yeah, so at the time where we stepped in, because we assessed that the risk of harm is very high for both the children and as well as the mom, we required him to leave the household so that we can preserve the children in the house with the mom.
Where does he go?
He can stay with his relatives or
Right.
friends or whoever he can, but just to be out of the household so that the children can remain with the mother and be safe.
Right. But I also don't expect he'll be like, oh, okay, then he just chow, right?
Yeah, I mean, there are a few options that we have here. One is the perpetrator leaves the home, right? So the father leaves the home so that we can preserve the children. Otherwise, if we feel that the children it's very unsafe for the children to remain in the household, then we may actually choose to remove the children instead, right? So when we present this, sometimes families are like, okay, I mean, at the end of the day, we also want to look at what's in the best interest of these children, right? Ideally, we want to preserve them in the home environment. We don't want to just remove them and place them elsewhere. So some families, they would take this up and, try to find alternative housing for themselves so that the children can remain at home.
Right. Typically, how long is this separation?
Well, it really depends on how responsive they are to intervention.
As short as?
Can be a couple of months because we also want to monitor their progress, right? It cannot be it's not an overnight change. And for this family, I mean, there has been history, right? And it's recurring. So we also don't want it to be a situation where we take decisions lightly or we just reintegrate the children and then there's harm again.
Does it not weigh incredibly heavy on you? I'm not sure if it's you or someone else that makes the decision to say, okay, I think he's sufficiently rehabilitated. Let's send him home.
I mean, we are the case manager, so we oversee these things. But of course, we work with the community, right? With the stakeholders. So we do work with agencies that's providing the intervention. So it may be anger management or really working with both parents, increasing their protectiveness over their children, understanding what's the impact of family violence and abuse on the children. And then when they are ready and we feel that, okay, they have shown sufficient efforts to be protective over the children.
But how do you know that? Is it a vibe?
No, I don't think
you know what I mean? How do you know this guy not gonna be his wife anymore?
No vibes. But it's more these agencies are professionals, right? They are trained counselors and they have been in the field. They have been in this practice. So they also, through their intervention, they will be able to tell, do you have insights? Or are you just paying lip service?
I read a post recently about how another country I'm not going to name, at least 50 to 60% of the men think that it is okay and correct to beat their wives. I'm like, this will not fly in Singapore. I got so angry when I read that article.
Yeah. When it comes to the perpetrator, what can we understand about them? For example, what are the main actually motivators behind abusers? Have we understood that already?
I guess it's really an interplay of very complex factors, right? So sometimes can be socioeconomic conditions, maybe there's unemployment in the family or like really financial strains, and they just can't cope with it, and then that's where strains happen, and then fights happen, and then it just gets worse. It can also be like cultural norms, rigid beliefs, marital discord, family strains and fractures within the unit, and that itself causes some issues, or domestic violence can happen, or even mental health, really.
What's the frequency of intervention? So let's say I beat my wife. I mean, but let's say I beat my wife. Then let's say I have hypothetical children also, just to make the situation worse, right? And then I'm now asked to move away from my family. So maybe let's say I rent a hotel or something like that. How often do you see me to know that I am not as violent anymore?
I guess, there are a few points where I can make some assessment. So one, it may be, okay, so I will refer you for services, right? So you will go and see a professional.
Like weekly? Daily?
Yeah, it could be a weekly thing. Not really daily, but probably weekly or like bi-weekly, depending on how you progress also. In the initial part, we would kind of ramp up on these resources, like, doing some parenting work and whatever's needed to really address the underlying concerns, right? But then also doesn't mean we separate the parent and the child, means that they don't have access to these children at all. So we do also facilitate like supervised access.
Right.
So during this supervised access, we also then monitor and see what is the quality of the relationship, what's the quality of the communication. Does this parent still behave or speak in ways that are harmful to the children? Then we do some psychoeducation there as well. So it's like through
also,
different
within
means.
the separation, there is mini reunification to observe.
There's access, because we also don't want to just remove the child and there's no access, no relationship, right? We need to continue that relationship. Relationships are important.
We don't need to though, right?
I think for a child, that bond is important. At the end of the day, reunification is our end goal, but there will be situations where that is just not feasible. Families are just not ready. The home environment is just not good enough for these children to be reunified. Or parents themselves don't want services. They are okay with not having the child back, maybe, no, I'm not going to do anything. Like, you don't want to return my child, that's fine. So we may keep them out of home for a longer period of time.
You've also mentioned like various types of like domestic violence or abuse, right? What are the most common forms reported in Singapore?
The most common would be physical abuse. That would top the list, because I guess that's the most visible and easy to see, easy to pick out, compared to like maybe emotional abuse or psych abuse, which flies under the radar and you can't really detect it.
And it's usually from a parent to child situation?
Usually, but we also have vulnerable adults, right? And we have elderly abuse.
My grandmother, which is like the Wager vibes one, right? It's like everybody's kind of scared of her. Like my mom also kind of scared of her kind.
Oh, right.
So she's a bit difficult lah. Nice lady, but very, very difficult. We swapped this particular helper, right? Then my grandmother became,
quiet,
for the lack of a better word, tame there. Then we're like, oh my god, like something's off. Which is weird because like,
I understand. Okay,
that's when we realized one of the helpers
beat into submission or something. Then.
But she just pinched my grandmother. It's a bit stupid. Like when we first heard it, I want to say I chuckled a little bit.
Okay.
Right?
I will try to control.
The helper just pinched her nose.
Why?
Like a shark like that lah, right? Like
yeah. Then I think maybe grandma is old. She can't just like easily change her breathing airway and whatnot, right?
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So we
pinch
sent
her
her back
nose like
immediately.
just pinch like that, or pinch and
Pinch and hold.
No, how did you all verify that was actually going on? Because you never actually...
Because my grandmother was even afraid to tell us. I would never expect my grandma to be the one to feel unsafe to tell us.
Yeah.
She
Feel
was
unsafe
so
at
fierce.
home with the helper, with a younger helper, sure. But what makes you feel unsafe that you cannot tell us at night? The moment that night we come home, it's like this person. Yeah.
Is there actually a reason for that?
For his grandma, it can be that there's this power dynamics, right? Because she's being cared for by someone else. Yeah, like someone is actually looking after her, and so then she feels like, okay, what if I say something and then she does something to me at night when my family is not around. Similarly, for like domestic violence and all that, sometimes we wonder why victims stay with the abusers as well, right? But there's really so many factors that weighs in on this. So then speaking up is going to cause so much more problems. I may break up the family. Maybe no one would believe me. There's all these things that come into play, and then victims just tend to kind of be subdued and
Yeah.
like they just keep it to themselves until something happens, or maybe until they find someone safe. There's also spousal abuse, so that's within intimate relationships. There's vulnerable adult abuse that may be within the family units itself. It can be son towards mother who's elderly,
Right.
or it can be a person with disabilities.
Can I ask, like, can emotional violence be considered domestic violence?
Yeah, I mean, definitely.
Okay.
These are the more unseen kind of
Right.
violence, like emotional and psychological abuse. It can be things like belittling the person, name calling, continuously, persistent name calling them stupid, or like saying that, if you don't, it's all your fault.
Can those victims ask for help also?
I mean, I guess over time it will definitely impact them to a certain level. And then that's when you may see that a person becomes a bit socially withdrawn. And I mean, to persistently keep going through that is very difficult. And they can definitely seek help. Yeah, for themselves.
Right,
But
and get a
it's-
protection officer as well, protective officer.
It
on
may
that
not
case.
be a protective officer, but it may be like, maybe it might be our
Family
our
counsellors.
social service agencies,
see.
like our family service centers, can definitely come in to provide some support for these people.
Right.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
where you
okay.
come in is more physical.
no, where we come in actually is really more where there's serious harm.
Okay.
Okay.
On like the children or the vulnerable adults. So for very obvious ones will be physical abuse, where there is like
Marks
visible
lah.
signs of abuse, right? But it can also be like, maybe the person may be going through like emotional or psychological harm, where they are constantly maybe self-harming, or like threatening to harm the child that they're with, like, I'm
Yeah.
going to commit suicide. I'm dangling the baby at the ledge. I mean, we have seen reports of this, so that's when like we will step in to provide that statutory intervention, because the risk of harm on this child is then very great.
Yeah.
Or if there's medical neglect, the child or a vulnerable person requires medical assistance, but there is a family member preventing
Yeah.
them from receiving any kind of medical assistance.
Yeah.
So that's when we may step in as well.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah.
What kind of training does a protection officer need to go through?
Okay.
Got close combat or not? Serial. Right. I feel like that's necessary. We have or not?
Self-defense.
No, really. Should have it.
When the fella like that,
Yeah,
you train not to flinch like at least.
Then your final exam, you just
Then they back off.
We won't take that risk. We won't take that risk. For myself, it's really about when I started this job, then it's about really learning about the legislation was really very interesting for me. Like, learning about the child protection lens, what are the statutory limits? Yeah. Like, when is it that we need to step in? When do we not? These are really interesting things that I had to go through. And like, when I had to take on cases, then really like, it's a bit nerve-wracking, right? Like, oh my God, what do I do?
Yeah.
And then like, knowing that there's someone else who can help me along, guide me along, work with me on these
As in
things.
you'll be mentored for a while. I would think.
Yeah. So at least like the first couple of cases, there will be mentoring, but definitely through that, even after that, my supervisors will be, every case is discussed with like a supervisor and
Right.
management.
That really helps, right? Or is that sian for the job?
No, I think that's very helpful, because we don't want to make decisions based on how I'm feeling towards that
Yeah.
family
Right.
or that situation. Maybe I have certain experiences from my past, then based on that, I make certain decisions.
Yeah,
Can't
yeah,
be
yeah.
that, right? We need some checks and balances. When I was new on the job, I was very emotional. So certain situations really made me very sad.
Right.
Like I would
Like you
go
would
back
go home
and
and
cry.
cry.
Okay.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, sometimes after meeting the clients, I go down, I cry. Like, I just
no.
burst out crying, and I'll call my supervisor and say, like, this thing happened, like, and then they really are like, okay, calm down, don't cry. What happened? Then I'm like, okay, I just need to get that off my chest.
but
And
that's
Yeah.
because you have empathy.
But yeah, it's people like you that will do this job
yeah.
well, Because you care.
Yeah, because you
Sometimes
care.
Is it like every day there's a report of this?
we do get reports on the daily, but that does not also mean that every report needs statutory intervention.
Right.
So some
Okay.
of these reports, it's great that people are reporting, because, it's a community effort, right? You see something happen, you should report
Yeah.
it. And so these reports do come in, and then we do some kind of like a triaging to actually assess, to see whether these reports are Are they low to moderate risk? Then if it's
Right.
low to moderate risk, we get our community agencies to come in to support the family so that these risks don't escalate.
Yeah.
Who are the ones usually reporting? Like, are they the victims themselves? Or-
Sometimes we do have victims who call in to share certain things that have happened to themselves. But of course, most of these victims may be vulnerable, right? So if they are young children, sometimes the
Right.
reporting comes in through schools, hospitals as well.
Right.
And some of our social service agencies that may be working with the families. So when they see the families or they see the children, they pick up something, they may also report. We also have reports from members of public. Yeah, so if they witness something, they may
How much
call
of that is
in.
rubbish though from the members of public, right? But then you also cannot tell them, hey, don't spam me, like, because you
Yeah.
want the reports to come in.
Like I said, we do checks, right?
Yeah.
Like we do call back to see, okay, what exactly has happened. We try to get more information from maybe the child's schools, like to see, is this a concern that you have seen as
Right.
well? So do you think that needs to be some kind of intervention or someone needs to respond to it?
Right.
Yeah. So, I mean, we do that check. I mean, we also want to err on the side of caution, right? We
Yeah.
don't want to just dismiss it.
Yes.
Yeah.
So besides the more obvious signs, like let's say like gonna bruise on the face or this kind of thing regularly, right? Like what are some of the not so common signs that people can actually look out for?
Maybe you come into work, someone used to be very jovial, and then suddenly you see this person is, hey, why are you so withdrawn on the edge or like fearful? That's something that you might want to like pick out and go and find out a bit more. It can also be like they are suddenly socially withdrawn, or maybe they come with like concealed bruises and they just dismiss it or give very weak explanations for these things. So those may be some telltale signs.
I think there were some other situations also, because when I was thinking about this, right, then I realized that I used to live in a block where I would always hear like screaming and fighting from another couple, like a neighbor nearby. And
Oh
I
my
think
God, same.
And
Eh,
you
same.
also, yeah, I think it's quite common, because I moved to a new block already, right? Same, like you will hear from like a few floors away, right? In those situations, I don't know what to do also, and I also feel very strongly like I don't want to be kepo, chop into other people's business. You know
But
what I mean?
how come we as a country become like that, huh?
Don't want to chop
Maybe
in,
we are overstepping up. Well, but then deep in your head, right, you are because you hear the sound, what
Yeah.
you're imagining, right, is someone taking a vase and smashing on someone's head already, right? But then you tell yourself, maybe I'm overstepping. That's crazy, Is it not absurd that we tell ourselves that?
Yeah.
The exact incident, right? Basically, the shouting was a bit much already. Like,
Yeah.
we hear it from here and there, but it's like quarrel.
I get it.
Then after that, got hear sound. My head is feeling out a lot of information, okay?
Like that.
Like fall down.
Oh.
Like fall down. Then
Like
I hold on to table.
table
kind of
knock
fall
down kind.
So and then it's very close. It feels like one level below one or below on top, or maybe +2, that kind. And so I open my window, right? Then I just shout, "You okay?" Then the sound just stopped. Then just silence. And then in my head, I'm thinking,
Wow, good.
No.
No good?
Because I'm thinking, if I am the angry man, right, that is abusing my spouse, for example, now I feel like, oh my God, other people know it because you've been shouting, right? I think I'll be doubly angry. Then that's when I started patrolling, I started going one unit down and then one unit up.
Neighborhood police.
Because I just want to say hi to them and just like, hey,
Say hi.
Make sure that people are walking
Or
by.
you also
can
not aware
see.
that she exists and they got people like that can help this situation lah. Professionals to handle it lah.
Yeah, no, for all I know, it's a TV show. I don't know.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying or not? Like I say hi to random people, ma.
Yeah.
So to me, I will just, at worst case scenario, if they open the door, then they look like normal and chill. And be like, anyway, I know, just leave upstairs. I just want to say hi. Y'all got hear the sound or y'all know where it's from. I'll just go there.
Yeah.
Then
Right.
if not, I'll straight away like, are you okay? And if everybody know what I'm talking about when I say, are you
Yeah.
okay? Then we found it, got them.
Okay, so for me, it's like my neighbors like below or something, right? Then I hear a lot of shouting and screaming. Not so much of the dung 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 kind of
Yeah.
noises, maybe door slam or whatever. But like, I don't know how far before I call police.
Yeah.
You know? Because like it could just be a domestic argument or something. Even though it lasted like for a few days and then the police actually came. Somebody else called the police.
I also feel like the fear of being kepo can be very strong because, right, a lot of times when you are in the situation, you probably are not aware that you are in an abusive relationship sometimes. So then let's say like they get a knock on their door, police come or whatever, right? Then you are there, then they recognize that you are the one that reported them. But they are like, no, we don't have a problem. Go away.
Yeah.
Why you tap into my business? Why you kepo?
In those situations, do the police go away?
I guess they would make their own assessment.
Right.
Like, is there any harm on the person? Like, is there any visible harm
They will ask to
on the
see both
person?
parties,
Yeah,
and
they
ask
will
whether,
speak
okay.
to them individually
Right.
to find out a little bit more whether the person is at risk.
Is there actually something that you would advise the person hearing or witnessing this thing to do? Like, is it like I should take out my phone, record what's going on, so that if I call police, I can let the police hear what I was hearing, then they can approach the unit or whatever.
I mean, I guess if you are really hearing this on the daily and you see that it's escalating, nothing stops you from calling the police lah, because there may be imminent danger, right? So ideally, it's good to call the police, or you can also call the National Anti-Violence and Sexual Harassment Helpline. So that's where we make reports on, like, if there are there's suspected abuse and you want someone to step in. I mean, then I guess they would ask a little bit more to find out where this may be coming from and do the necessary love.
Can I, as the person that make the report, remain anonymous if I choose?
Yes. So reports made are anonymous.
Okay.
To the anti-violence department or to the police?
I guess both it will
okay.
remain anonymous
To your
because the
neighbours lah, that's the most
reporter.
important part.
Yeah, correct.
The reporter will remain anonymous.
But they hear your voice already, you shout. So they will know.
But they are not very sure. They think others upstairs they're watching Daily Ketchup. But now knowing what you know and having done what you've done, what do you take into your personal life and your personal relationships?
There's a few things lah. So I mean, even in my own personal relationships and my family and all that, if I see like my cousins like parenting their children in a different way, then I'm like, hey, actually, why you cannot talk to her nicely? Like, why can't you do this? Or like, I'll talk to the child and say, actually, why don't you listen to your mom and do these things? Like, why do you want to put yourself out there and continue doing this when you know that it gets someone upset? So if like partners treat my friends like in a way, I'm like, why are you putting up with this? Like, you shouldn't have to. Like, it's wrong. Like, just calling out those behaviors and sharing that with them.
Then do you think as a result, right, your family and your friends, right, behave themselves better around you? You're like, oh my god.
Or she charged them after
She's here, she's
after the hour.
Yeah, like before they go to your house and visit you, later you better behave, don't make me scold you, because I don't have to deal with that.
I mean, I guess I have sometimes my friends will call me and say, hey, I have a friend who's going through this. You think it's normal or not? Yeah.
Right.
So
So you
then
can
I will give my 2
advise.
cents lah.
Right.
So if the family is of belief that you should beat your kids. I mean, I don't have kids, right? But I was beaten all the way up, right? So if I hypothetically one day have kids, right, I would think it won't be beyond me to give a spank, right?
Discipline only, ma.
It's really a fine line. But you see, when we use discipline to a point where you cause injury to the child, then I think
Right.
that's where we really need to take
So
a
like
second look.
a cane whip.
Yeah, maybe a cane mark. Or there's
but cane
bruises.
is
considered
discipline.
abuse, meh?
It is a very traumatic event for the child. And if like cane marks, sometimes there's bleeding on it, scabs and all that. I mean, that
okay.
is really, we are pushing it. I mean, as adults, we really don't know the amount of strength that we use, right? The amount of force that we use. All it takes is the child to move and it hits the eye or something else.
Right. What was the most difficult, door you've ever had to knock on?
I have a case where when we started getting reports that this parent actually was going back to the household, back to the unit, we had to go and do our home visits to check whether these reports were accurate, right? Whether this perpetrator was really
After
back.
they were
after they were separated. Yeah.
Okay.
So then we started getting reports from others that there has been some breaches in the safety plan.
Right.
Right. That the father has been going back and there's been some harm on the children. So we have to act on it, right? So then we had to go and do home visits. That's when we have to knock on the door, right? And when we
You don't
did,
go alone, lah, right? I
no,
don't think. Okay,
we'll go
okay.
with a team. So when we went there, of course, the mom did try to conceal this information, right?
Yeah.
So the father was there, but she's like, no, there's no one here. No.
You managed to catch him while here at home. ah.
Yeah.
That is so dramatic.
That
Love
So
it.
what is the crime watch?
feel like that lah sometimes,
So she said, no, then you all don't go in lah.
No, we will go in.
Or you
you're
still
still
go
going
in,
in,
then you
go
find him
in.
there.
And then we'll be like, oh, can we just see who's in the room?
Right.
And then open the door. He was there.
Did he attempt to curtain or what?
No
He just
lah.
said, yeah, okay.
I mean,
at this point, no point already.
yeah,
Right?
no
You're gonna
point.
climb under the
But
bed. I think
sometimes
the
they will
worst,
be a bit defensive also lah. They'll
For
be
sure.
like, I never do anything. What did I do?
Yeah.
I'm just sitting here in the room.
Yeah.
What? I'm not. My children are not at home. What? Yeah.
So what do you do then?
I guess we have to really just let them know that it's this is a breach of the safety plan lah. This was our agreement, right? And we have not even gone to a stage where you should be coming back home. Of course, we had to to take him to task lah. And so then when that happened, we had to remove the children from the home. Because then it was no longer safe, right?
Okay.
Because one is you are breaching the safety plan. Two is you are going there, mom is not being protective, she's concealing information. And three, you are there, but you are also minimizing your role in this whole thing. So to keep the children safe, we had to remove the children, put them in alternative care while we work with the parent.
What are some forms of this like alternative care?
So sometimes we may place the children out in foster care. So we do have a pool of foster parents who are willing to take these children in. We may also put them in children's homes. Otherwise, we may explore kinship care as well. So kinship care is like if the families themselves have a network, right? There may be like uncles, aunties, grandma. Yeah, so it's like within the family system lah.
That's often the best option though, right?
Yeah, I mean keeping the
Really?
child within the family.
Because if it's grandma, if it's very close, maybe the abuser father can go there. Because he knows.
Oh, true.
Yeah,
How to
so
cope.
in MSF we do assessments before we do that lah.
Screening.
Yeah. I mean, we also try to see how we can expand the child's network.
Yeah.
Like, so we maybe introducing befrienders to them. Then in the homes, there may be mentors and all that, working with these children. So they are not like isolated.
I feel like if I were to join, then y'all pair me up with what, like a 12-year-old boy, then
No, I mean like when I mean befrienders, like some agencies, they do have groups of like volunteers, right?
Yeah.
So some
Which could be me,
agencies,
ma.
some agencies may be more targeted at like maybe drug abusers. So then they will pair you up with like, I mean, depends on the agency that you want to volunteer at lah.
But they can just pair and isolate a minor with like an adult.
No, so usually, I mean, the agencies that do have these
Befrienders,
volunteers, they
Programs.
will do their own screening and all that.
Yeah, for
like
sure.
background check, you think
you don't
lah.
trust yourself with children, man. Why you?
No, if let's say I have a child or I am a child, then like it's a very risky situation, ma.
Yeah.
No,
I
but
think
it's
you will
important
fail
that she
the
mentioned the
screening
screening.
lah.
The
No, yeah, that's why hence the screening is very important to mention, right?
Yeah.
So people
Correct.
feel safe with the befriender
Program.
program. Yeah. Okay, so I also came across this term called DIVERT. Is this domestic violence emergency response team? What does this team do?
So like where there are something like that lah. So it's like when there's very serious domestic violence, so the police may activate this team. So we will go down together with the police to these households to intervene immediately. So because like where there are situations where there's harm that has happened on the victim, right? And we can then issue some emergency orders to like refrain this person from maybe stepping into the house or like for them to leave the premises until the victim is able to apply for maybe a personal protection order.
It's like basically like a first responder team from
Yes, correct.
because the police cannot do the same thing.
Yeah, so police may have limited in certain situations, like they cannot assess at that point in time that a crime is being committed, right? So then we do have some of these powers
Right.
to issue these emergency orders
Yeah.
so that we can keep the victim safe and like manage the perpetrator as well.
And on the
So
spot also you are
Combining their
spot.
powers actually.
Yeah,
correct.
heroes.
and also because on the spot you all will have the skills to evaluate the situation also. Right?
Correct, yeah. Because once we issue the order and like the person doesn't want to leave, then we will get the police to assist.
The muscle.
So it's Avengers, not SWAT.
So after all of these stories, right, and hearing your experiences, like what still keeps you in this job?
I guess I have been in service for a period of time now. I really find a lot of fulfillment in this work that I do. It's also great that I have, like I said just now, I have a supportive work environment. So I do feel like, okay, I can get this done. I can continue. I can carry on. And yeah, I guess that's what keeps me going. Like it's really the changes that I see, it really gives me comfort when I see changes, when I have helped a child, when I know this child is safe. Yeah.
Is there anything that you personally feel like, okay, if it changed like policy wise or culturally or socially, right, we'll see a much greater decline in like family or domestic violence?
I think maybe like culturally and socially is really a mindset shift that, domestic violence is a private issue. It's not, it's really a collective thing that we should be doing. It's a whole of community. Yeah. It's a whole of community thing. I mean, we need people, if you see something, report it. Like if everyone's going to think that, it's a private issue, then things would just keep being unsurfaced, right? Like, yeah.
Every time we get someone that's affiliated MSF in, right, there's this other spark in their eyes, one.
Yeah.
Like they got faith in humanity.
when
one.
they share this kind
Yeah,
of
because we
stories,
damn jaded,
right?
right? We're like, humans are assholes, right? Like all of us just want to take care of ourselves. But then it's like every day you see people that like open up their homes and stuff like that. I mean, you also see
it's
the bad,
really
of course.
very inspiring. I mean, sometimes you just like think, hey, how come, there are really people who are willing to help, really
Yeah.
people who are willing to open their homes
Yeah.
and step forward. And some of these people are not even their family members, right? So it's really very heartwarming, to be honest.
Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all the stories you've had. If you
you for
guys
having
need
me.
the resources, they will be down in the description box below. If not, we'll see you in the next episode. Bye.